An old king fell sick, and when he found the end drawing near, he said, "Let faithful John come to me." Now faithful John was a servant that he was fondest of, and was so called because he had been true to his master all his life long. And when he came to the bedside, the king said, "My faithful John, I feel that my end draws nigh, and I have now no cares save for my son, who is still young and stands in need of good counsel. I have no friend to leave him but you, and if you do not pledge yourself to teach him all he should know, and to be a father to him, I shall not shut my eyes in peace." Then John said, "I will never leave him, but will serve him faithfully, even though it should cost me my life." And the king said, "I shall now die in peace. After my death, show him the whole palace, all the rooms and vaults, and all the treasures and stores which lie there. But take care how you show him one room, I mean the one where hangs a picture of the daughter of the king with the golden roof. If he sees it, he will fall deeply in love with her, and then will be plunged into great dangers on her account. Guard him in this peril." Faithful John had once more pledged his word to the old king. He laid his head on the pillow and died in peace. Now when the old king had been carried to his grave, faithful John told the young king what had passed upon his deathbed, and said, "I will keep my word truly, and be faithful to you as I always was to your father, though it should cost me my life." And the young king wept and said, "Neither will I ever forget your faithfulness." The days of mourning passed away, and then faithful John said to his master, "It is now time that you should see your heritage. I will show you your father's palace." Then he led him about everywhere, up and down, and let him see all the riches and all the costly rooms. Only one room, where the picture stood, he did not open. Now the picture was so placed that the moment the door opened you could see it, and it was so beautifully done that one would think it breathed and had life. There were nothing more lovely in the whole world. When the young king saw that faithful John always went by this door, he said, "Why do you not open up that room?" "There is something inside," he answered, "which would frighten you." But the king said, "I have seen the whole palace, and I must know what is in there." And he went and began to force open the door, but faithful John held him back and said, "I gave my word to your father before his death that I would take heed how I showed you what stands in that room, lest it should lead you and me into great trouble." "The greatest trouble," said the young king, "will be not to go in and see that room. I shall have no peace by day or by night till I do so, and I shall not go hence till you open it." Then faithful John saw that with all he could do or say the young king went half his way, so with a heavy heart and many foreboding sighs he sought out the key out of his great bunch, and he opened the door to the room, entered in first so as to stand between the king and the picture, hoping he might not see it. But he raised himself upon tiptoes and looked over John's shoulders, and as soon as he saw the likeness of the lady, so beautiful and shining with gold, he fell down on the floor senseless. Then faithful John lifted him up on his arms and carried him to his bed, and was full of care, and thought to himself, "Which trouble has become upon us? O heaven, what will become of it?" At last the king came to himself again, but the first thing that he said was, "Whose is that beautiful princess picture?" "It's a picture of the daughter of the king with the golden roof," said faithful John. But the king went on saying, "My love towards her is so great that if all the leaves on the trees were tongues, they could not speak it. I dare not risk my life to win her. You are my faithful friend, you must aid me." Then John thought for a long time what was now to be done, and at length said to the king, "All that she has about her is of gold. The tables, stools, cups, dishes, and all the things in her house is of gold. She is always seeking new treasures. Now in your stores there is much gold. Let it be worked up into every kind of vessel, into all sorts of birds, wild beasts, and wonderful animals, and then we will take it out and try our fortune." So the king ordered all the goldsmiths to be sought for, and they worked day and night till at last the most beautiful things were made. And faithful John had a ship loaded with them, and put on a merchant's dress, and the king did the same, so that they might not be known. When all was ready, they put out to sea, and sailed on till they came to the coast of the land where the king of the golden roof reigned. Faithful John told the king to stay in the ship and wait for him, for perhaps, said he, I may be able to bring away the king's daughter with me. Therefore, take care that everything be in order. Let the golden vessels and ornaments be brought forth, and the whole ship be decked out with them. And he chose something out of the golden things to put in his basket, got ashore, and went towards the king's palace. When he came to the castle yard, there stood by the well side a beautiful maiden, who had 2 golden pails in her hands, drawing water. And as she drew up the water, which was glittering with gold, she turned herself around and saw the stranger, and asked him who he was. Then he drew near and said, I am a merchant, and opened his basket and let her look into it. She cried out, Oh, what beautiful things! And set down her pails, and looked one after another. Then she said, The king's daughter must see all of these. She is so fond of such things that she will buy all of you. So she took him by the hand and led him in, for she was one of the waiting maids of the daughter of the king. When the princess saw the wares, she was greatly pleased and said, They are so beautiful that I will buy them all. But Faithful John said, I am only the servant of a rich merchant. What I have here is nothing to what he has lying in yonder ship. There he has the finest and most costly things that were ever made in gold. The princess wanted to have them all brought ashore, but he said that would take up many days. There are such a number, and many rooms would be wanted to place them. Then there are such a number, and more rooms would be wanted to place them than there are in the greatest house. But her wish to see them grew still greater, and at last she said, Take me to thy ship, I will go in myself and look at your master's wares. Faithful John led her joyfully to the ship, and the king, when he saw her, thought that his heart would leap out of his breast, and that it was with the greatest trouble that he kept himself still. So she got into the ship, and the king let her down, but Faithful John stayed behind with all the steersmen, and ordered the ship to put off. Spread all your sail, cried he, that she may fly over the waves like a bird through the air. And the king showed the princess the golden wares, each one singly, the dishes, cups, basins, and the wild and wonderful beasts, so that many hours flew away, and she looked at everything with delight, and was not aware that the ship was sailing away. And after she had looked at last, she thanked the merchant, and said she would go home, but when she came upon the deck, she saw that the ship was sailing far away from the land upon the deep sea, and that it flew along at full sail. Alas, she cried out in her fright, I am betrayed, I am carried off and have fallen into the power of a roving traitor. I would sooner have died. Then the king took her by the hand and said, I am not a merchant, I am a king, and as of noble birth as you. I have taken you away myself, but I did so because of the very great love I have for you. The first time that I saw your face, I fell on the ground in a swoon. When the daughter of the king of the golden roof heard all, she was comforted, and her heart soon toward him, and she was willing to become his wife. But so it happened that whilst they were sailing on the deep sea, Faithful John, as he sat on the prow of the ship playing on his flute, saw 3 ravens flying in the air toward him. Then he left off playing and listened to what they said to each other, for he understood their tongue. The first said, There he goes! He is bearing away the daughter of the king of the golden roof. Let him go. Nay, said the second, There he goes, but he has not got her yet. And the third said, There he goes, he surely has her, for she is sitting by his side in the ship. The first began again and cried out, What boots it to him? See you not that when they come to land, a horse of a foxy red color will spring towards him, and then he will try to get upon it, and if he does, it will spring away with him in the air, so that he will never see his love again. True, true, said the second, but is there no help? Oh, yes, yes, said the first. If he who sits upon the horse takes the dagger which is stuck in the saddle, and strikes him dead, the young king is saved. But who knows that? Who will tell him? For he has thus saved the king's life, will turn to stone from the toes of his feet to his knee. The second said, True, true, but I know more still. Though the horse be dead, the king loses his bride when they go together to the palace. There lies a bridal dress on the couch, and it looks as if it were woven of gold and silver, but all is brimstone and pitch, and if he puts it on, it will burn him, marrow and bones. Alas, alas, is there no help? Said the third. Oh, yes, said the second. If someone draws near and throws it into the fire, the young king will be saved. But boots that, who knows and will tell him, and if he does, his body from the knee to the heart will be turned to stone. More and more, I know more, said the third. Where the dress burnt, the king still loses his bride. After the wedding, when the dance begins and the young queen dances on, she will turn pale and fall as though she were dead. And if someone does not draw near and lift her up and take from her the right breast 3 drops of blood, she will surely die. But if anyone knew this, he would tell him that if he does so, his body will turn to stone from the crown of his head to the tip of his toe. Then the three ravens flapped their wings and flew on, but faithful John, who had understood it all from that time, was sorrowful, did not tell his master what he had heard, for he saw that if he told him, he must lay down his life to save him, and at last said to himself, I will be faithful to my word and save my master if it costs me my life. Now when they came to land, it happened just as the ravens had foretold, for there sprung out a fine foxy red horse. See, said the king, he shall bear me to my palace. He tried to mount, but faithful John leaped before him, swung himself quickly on it, drew the dagger, and smote the horse dead. Then when the other servants of the king, who were jealous of faithful John, cried out, What a shame to kill the fine beast that was to take the king to his palace. But the king said, Let him alone. That is my faithful John. Who knows but he did it for some good end. Then they went on to the castle, and there stood a couch in one room, and a fine dress lay upon it, that shone in gold and silver. And the king went up to take hold of it, but faithful John cast it on the fire and burnt it. As the other servants again began to grumble and said, See, now he is burning the wedding dress. But the king said, Who knows what he does it for? Let him alone. He is my faithful servant John. The wedding feast was held, and the dance began, and the bride also came in. But faithful John took good heed and looked in her face, and all of a sudden she turned pale and fell as if she were dead upon the ground. But he sprung toward her quickly, lifted her up, and took her, and laid her on a couch, and quickly drew 3 drops of blood from her right breast. And she breathed again and came to herself. But the young king had seen it all, and did not know why faithful John had done it, so he was angry at his boldness, and said, Throw him into prison. The next morning faithful John was led forth, and stood upon the gallows, and said, May I speak out before I die? When the king answered, It shall be granted thee, he said, I am wrongly judged, for I have always been faithful and true. And he told what he had heard the ravens say upon the sea, and how he meant to save his master, and therefore had done all of these things. When he had told all, the king called out, Oh, my most faithful John, pardon, pardon, please take him down. But faithful John had fallen down lifeless at the last word he spoke, and lay as stone. And the king and queen mourned over him, and the king said, Oh, how ill I have rewarded thy truth. And he ordered the stone figure to be taken up and placed in his own room near his bed. So as often he looked at it and wept, and said, Oh, that I could bring thee back to life again, my faithful John. At a time, a queen had 2 little sons who grew up and were her great joy. One day, when she was at church, the 2 children stayed out with their father, and they played about. He looked at the stone figure and cried, Oh, that I could bring thee back to life, my faithful John. And the stone began to speak and said, O king, thou canst bring me back to life, if thou wilt give up for my sake what is dearest to thee. The king said, All I have in the world would I give up for thee. Then said the stone, Cut off the heads of thy children, sprinkle their blood over me, and I shall live again. Then the king was greatly shocked, but he thought how faithful John had died for his sake, and because of the great truth toward him, rose up and drew his sword to cut off his children's heads and sprinkle the stone with their blood. For the moment he drew his sword, faithful John was alive again and stood before his face and said, Your truth is rewarded. And the children sprang about and played as if nothing had happened. Then the king was so full of joy, and when he saw the queen coming to try her, he put faithful John and the 2 children in a large closet. When she came in, he said to her, Have you been at church? Yes, said she, I could not help thinking of faithful John, who is so true to us. Dear wife, said the king, we can bring him back to life again, but it will cost us both our little sons, and we must give them up for his sake. When the queen heard this, she turned pale and was frightened in her heart, but she said, Let it be so, we owe him all for his great faith and truth. Then he rejoiced because she thought as he had thought, and went in and opened the closet, He brought out the children to faithful John and said, "Heaven be praised, he is ours again, and we have our son safe too." So he told her the whole story, and all lived happily together for the rest of their lives. The end. I love you.